What is a trust, and is it a trust only for wealthy people?
Basically, it's a legal entity that's created to protect your assets. A trusted person that will serve as the person in charge of carrying out the trust terms according to your wishes after you pass away. It's actually more expensive by going to the surrogate's court. So it costs about $7,000 to $8,000, the average cost to go to the surrogate's court. That is actually less than what it actually costs to prepare a trust.
What is a trust, and is it a trust only for wealthy people, or the ordinary people? I mean, like people like us, we can also do. Because I heard that people have a feeling that trust could be only made on the wealthy people only, the rich people, I mean.
First of all, assalamu alaikum, Brother Zaman, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you very much, TBN24. So yeah, it's a misconception that most people have, that it's only for wealthy people, right? But actually, I think it's really for the average person, and I'll explain why. First of all, what is a trust, right? So I'm just going to go textbook definition so you understand. We're going to get some terminology so we understand what this thing is. Okay, so a trust, I don't create what are called testamentary trust. That is something that's created by will. We do what's called living trust or inter vivos trust. They mean the same thing, and basically it's a legal entity that's created to protect your assets, monies, properties. It is created by what's called a grantor. That's the owner. That's you. That's the terminology. You need to know who the grantor is. And this grantor, which is yourself, names a trusted person that will serve as the person in charge of carrying out the trust terms according to your wishes after you pass away. And that person is called a trustee. Okay, so and the second part that you need to know about this is funding, right? So a trust has no legal effect if you do not put the properties into the trust. So just creating a trust, a lot of attorneys make this mistake. They name the trust, they make this beautiful trust, but yet they do not actually put the title of the property into the name of the trust. So that's very important. So those are some terminologies. Now, as to your question as to, is it just for wealthy people? Absolutely not, right? So the reason why the average person, the average Joe, the average homeowner needs to do this is to avoid a couple of things. Number one, probate. Okay, so I hope you have your pen and paper, right? So you need to avoid probate. What is probate? That's an application to the surrogate's court, whatever county that you live in, where the properties are located. That takes about 6 to 9 months in Queens County. It takes an astounding 2 years in Brooklyn. They are so jammed up in the surrogate's court in Brooklyn. Nassau, Suffolk, those places a little bit quicker. But for those 6 to 9 months, your children will not be able to collect rent. Your family will not be able to administer the property. They won't be able to do anything. It's held in limbo until you get a letter from the surrogate's court. Let's say if you pass away with a will, you have to get a letter from the surrogate's court that says that somebody is authorized to handle this property, administer this property. So I think that's one thing that you don't realize. I know I spoke to many people that the law in Bangladesh, it's automatically, right? It goes to your wife and kids. That's not the case here. You would die what's called intestate, which means the court, according to the estates law, would then give half the property to your wife plus 50,000, and then the other half to the children pro rata, meaning equally. Okay, so you have no control, but you know what? You have no one to blame but yourself, because you have the opportunity now to put it in writing, whatever your terms are. Second thing that the trust benefits you is that it's actually more expensive by going to the surrogate's court. So it costs about $7,000 to $8,000, the average cost to go to the surrogate's court. That is actually less than what it actually costs to prepare a trust. Third thing, that the benefit that you get is a thing called stepped up basis, right? So this is very important to understand. If you do not do this trust, okay, when you give the property to your children, okay, there's no tax consequence to them giving it to them, but when they sell the property, they will pay capital gains tax. All right. So many of you out there have bought a property maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. You know, you bought it for $400,000 or $500,000. It's now worth $1 million. Okay. If you were not to do the trust, your children, if they sell it for $1 million, will end up paying $100,000 in capital gains tax. Right. 20% of the $500,000 is profit is $100,000. All right, that's the highest tax bracket that we're assuming. Okay, with the trust, you get the basis at $1 million when you passed away. You get the fair market value of the property when you pass away. Okay, so you get it at $1 million. So they sell at $1 million. They got it from you when you passed it was $1 million. Guess what their capital gains tax is? 0. So this trust, you cannot not afford to do it, right? You have to do it again to avoid this capital gains tax. A couple other things. One, another thing that happens, and you can jump in anytime, right? But okay. I'm going to talk.
What I'm feeling up to now, let me share with the viewers.
Oh, God, yes, go ahead.
Because it's a long, of course.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Attorney Upper Box. যে কথাগুলো বলেছেন আমি জানি যে আপনারা সবাই বুঝতে পেরেছেন, বাট the necessity, the importance of this trust, that was he was trying. Actually, উনি এটাই বলতে চাচ্ছিলেন যে এটার বেনিফিটগুলো কিভাবে এটা করা যায়। সার্ভিস কোর্টে গেলে কীভাবে $7,000 একটা সমন্বয় ব্যাপার আছে। 7-8 মাস এই প্রসেস, during the process, 7 to 8 months, they cannot do rent or anything, right?
Well, because you have a tenant.
You have to have that.
He wants some authority. When he makes a rental payment.
So এটা উনি যে কথাটা শেয়ার করলেন সেটা হচ্ছে যে প্রসেস চলে 7-8 মাস বা 9 মাস, এটা আপনারা মানে ছেলেমেয়েরা তাদের যারা পোষ্যরা আছেন বাবা মার, তারা এইটাকে হ্যান্ডেল করতে পারবে না। একটা অথরিটি লেটার লাগে সার্ভিস কোর্ট থেকে, যেটা উনি বললেন।
নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে সম্প্রচারিত TVN 24 টেলিভিশন, বিশ্বজুড়ে বাঙালির কণ্ঠস্বর।